Sure that everybody's on here. And I will stay on afterwards if anybody has any questions or things that they want to cover off. Happy to. I've got plenty of time today. So this is the productivity blueprint. And the productivity blueprint, a session that I've delivered all over in terms of, looking at how to get more productive, not necessarily so busy, but how to get more productive in the ever-changing real estate landscape. So what I want to share with you is that, productivity is something that I think gets thrown around loosely. What I look to do today is give you some principles, some practices, some tactics, some strategy. Nothing that is rocket science. My purpose is just to serve and support you at the highest level that I can. And hopefully, if you take one piece of action today, you find one piece of information or you find something that resonates for you and you walk out of here and you take action, that to me is a win. Okay. Too often we go to webinars, or seminars, trainings, things like that. And ultimately what happens is we get all sorts of ideas, we get all sorts of tactics, we get all revved up, but we walk out and we fail to take any form of action. And that's really not what this is about. So what my purpose is today is to take you through a little bit of interaction and interacting with the fact you don't have to take copious amounts of notes. I'll pause and stop just here and there in terms of places and spaces that I think may benefit you in terms of what you're looking to create. But of course, the choice is yours. Everybody's on their own individual journey. We're all part of this collective experience that we call real estate, but everybody's at a different place in space and time. And so the purpose for me today is just to serve and support you, because right now and over the last number of years, I feel that there are a lot of challenges inside of the training and development environment. We see it all day long where people are coaching or training or opening up companies or downlines or things like that. And they've never really had the experience of creating something that perhaps you desire. In fact, many people that are in the training and development space have never even practiced inside of the real estate environment. And I take issue with that. And it's not to say that somebody can't, create value or serve and support others, without having been in our environment. But our environment has become very, very unique, especially, for newer agents in a changing market. Being taught how to build, 100 transaction per year business through YouTube is just nonsense. Okay. So that doesn't happen in your first year that way. What we look to do is be discerning. And, that's really why I serve and support. How can I come with the most value, with the most contribution, just to serve and support others? Because what I know is that when we serve and support others, success is never an issue. So that is the intention of today. The action that I'm going to take is providing you with some of the things that I've learned along the way that I feel will support you well. So that's the thing. What we want to do is look at, there's a massive difference between intention and action. Okay, the law of intention says that in order for something to happen, we have to direct our energy somewhere. Okay, we have to put our intention, whether it's our business goal, whether it's getting productive in some other area. But the law of action says that nothing happens unless something moves. Okay, nothing happens unless we move in a specific direction. So it's important to set the intention, but we have to align our actions with those intentions. Remember, if you want a result, you have to take action. Massive results mean massive amounts of action. And again, I think that we're being misled. Okay, right now, there's just so much out there in the world of social media and digital marketing and things like that, that ultimately are creating a lot of distraction. Okay, so a key component of looking at productivity is what I call minimizing to maximize. Okay, how can you minimize some of the things that you are observing? Minimize some of the things that maybe you are doing, minimize some of the things that are taking you away from productivity or revenue generating activities in order to maximize that potential of what it is that you want to create. Okay, we can't keep getting misled. And the market right now, to me, is tougher than ever. I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. I have been inside of several challenging markets. The market that I started in 2008 and 2009 was similar. But I still feel right now is a little bit trickier, especially based on the transition, everything that's going on in the world, what we came through with, the so-called pandemic, things like that. What I ask of you today is to consider, is the market so challenging that you can't create what it is that you desire? Because here's the thing, although it's challenging for most, why is it that so many people are having tremendous success inside of it? Okay, what is the real true differentiator in terms of somebody that's coming into the business in this market, perhaps having, tremendous results? We've had agents that are, producing 50 plus transactions in their first or second year inside of the business, which is crazy, right? In this market, where there's agents that have been around a long, long time, but they appear to be struggling. So, what is the mystery between productivity and the challenges that we're seeing inside of it? A lot of people say that it's the time that they have available to them. And I'm going to say that the gurus, the theorists, and the people that are speaking all over the industry talk a lot about time management, which I believe is a myth. Okay, now I don't want to negate the fact that there are definite elements to understanding time, but most of the people that are teaching about these time blocking exercises and taking every 15 minutes of your day in increments and making it perfect, they've never done it. Because in this industry, you got to stay a little bit flexible and you've got to stay a little bit fluid. So I'm going to give you an exercise that was given to me many years ago about not necessarily time management, but about choice management. So I want you to write this number down, 168. Okay, 168. And some of you may have heard this before, but there are 168 hours available to each and every one of us. That is not different for any other human being on the planet. Okay, there is no refuting that fact. First, I want you to write down the number of hours on average that you sleep in a week. Number of hours on average that you sleep a week. By the way, there's no wrong answers here. This is just a pure place of discovery. From that point, I'd like you to write down the number of hours that you dedicate to your real estate career each week. Maybe for some of you, it's 20 hours, maybe it's 40 hours. If you're a workaholic like me, it's a lot more. Again, no wrong answers. Now, what I always find is amazing and a point of discovery is that when people say, they spend 10 hours a week and are doing 30 deals a year, that's one thing. Or the person that says they're spending 60 hours a week on real estate, but they're doing 2. Something doesn't line up with some of these things. So transparency, honesty, that's the number one catalyst to getting the most out of this exercise. Third, dedicating time for personal development. I said personal development, not professional development, personal development. Doing the things for yourself that allow you to bring the very best version of yourself into each and every experience. Okay, whether that is journaling, whether it is meditation, whether it is reading a non-business related book, whether it's health and wellness, whatever it is for you that allows you to bring the very best version of you into each and every experience. In my deepest truth, I am certain that we cannot serve our family, our community, our charity, or even our real estate clients at the highest level unless we are serving ourselves first. Let's dedicate 10 hours per week to that, whether it's 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, or some combination that you're dedicating that time first. Okay, so you've got 168 hours. You're going to subtract the number of hours on average that you sleep. Okay, then you're going to subtract the number of hours on average that you dedicate to your real estate career. And then we're going to subtract 10 hours for personal development time inside of that. And I'd love to hear from anybody how many hours on average that you have left over. How many hours on average do you have left over? Throw it in the chat if you wouldn't mind. Let me take a quick look. 68, 61, 59, 85. Perfect. So thank you for that. And what I share is that on average, most people, usually it falls between 40 and 60 hours. Okay, 40 to 60 hours. Now, here's the thing. This gives you 40 to 60 hours to dedicate first. And what we're going to dedicate that to first is to our purpose. Okay, now that's a big sweeping word, purpose, which I'll talk to a little bit further. But here's what I know. Real estate is not our life's purpose. Okay, real estate is not our life's purpose, but it's a great vehicle to serve that purpose. See, nobody's going to wake up on death's doorstep one day and say, gosh, my life would have been a little bit more complete if I just would have sold one more home. There's not any other human being on the planet that's going to do that unless you're a really sick individual. However, real estate can serve that purpose at the highest level, whatever that purpose is for you. The law of purpose says that anything and everything on this planet has a purpose, whether that's your family, whether that's your community, whether that's your charity of choice, whatever it is to allow you to do the things that you want to do with the people that you want to do them with. That's the number that we want to dedicate first, because that also allows us to avoid what we call career resentment. If you've been around this game a long time, you know that it can be relentless. And if we're not careful, it can chew us up and spit us out. I think everyone would agree. If you've been doing this for at least a few years, you know how demanding this business can be. What we want to do is start to navigate that so that we can experience what we're supposed to ultimately experience in this life, which is happiness and freedom. When we dedicate that time first and we make that non-negotiable, not perfect, sometimes things come up, it's the boundaries that we create with that time that becomes the most important thing, besides, in my opinion, personal development, which is what I would dedicate second. If you dedicate the time for your purpose, the people, the places, the charity, the community, the church, whatever it is for you, you dedicate the time for yourself to become or be the best version of you possible, you have a lot of time left over. Inside of those work hours, all it takes is 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, dedicated to non-negotiable business cultivation, aka lead generation, which is a whole other topic. But the person that truthfully gives 2 hours per day, 5 days per week, you write your ticket inside of this business. You get so busy that you have other challenges with systems and tactics and scaling and leverage and things like that. But why is it that we know that? I don't think that there's anybody on here that doesn't recognize that fact. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week dedicated to creating more business. You never slow down. But why is it that people don't do the things that they know that if they just did, they would create exactly what they desired inside of the business? That's the mystery. The one that I always aim to serve and support on. So you've got 168 hours. You've dedicated your time to doing the things that you want to do. You've dedicated your time to doing the things for you to bring the very best version of you into the next experience. And you've dedicated 2 hours a day, 5 days a week to business cultivation. The rest falls into place. This is an irrefutable discovery that it's not about the lack of time that we have. It's about the choices that we make inside of that time. And that requires 100% personal responsibility. There's no other way. because being busy, showing that you're busy on social media or online, or talking like we're so busy to our peers, our colleagues, people like that, that doesn't equal productivity. It just doesn't. So it's very, very important that we look at what are the ways that we are showing up in a place of productivity versus just looking busy. Because that's really the thing. The problem isn't this market, it's the myth of busyness, not business, busyness. And you could see it online all day long with the people that you might follow on social media or inside of your current brokerage or things like that. People are looking busy, but what are the real results? I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm just sharing, like, from a place of transparency and studying real estate productivity for well over 15 years, coaching, teaching, supporting some of the most productive people, not only in my market, but all over North America. There's a massive difference between being productive and busy. So hold that close. So who's going to win in this market? Okay, who is going to win in this market? And what I want to share is that, yes, I'm extremely competitive. For those of you that know me, very, very competitive. Working on collaboration and cooperation is always important for me. It's a deep place of reflection. But it's not necessarily about winning all the time. There are times where we all lose. Okay, but my challenge, my question to you is, if you didn't win this year, did you lose for the right reasons or for the wrong reasons? Okay, that's what I don't want to see happen with people, is that they're losing for the wrong reasons in anything. So who's going to win in this market? I will share with you exactly who's going to win. One, the agents, the team leaders, the broker owners that are marketers. Okay, marketers, learning about how to market to your audience, which we'll talk to a little bit further. Two, those that develop deeper connections with their audience, online and offline. Those that develop deeper connections with their audience, online and offline. Number three, the person that brings the most value to the market. The person that brings the most value to the market. Posting selfies in front of Lambos or at bars as realtors in this profession is not value. It's entertainment, and if entertainment works for you and that's your audience, cool. But what has happened to us in the last 10 years with the onset of things like TikTok and digital media and all the stuff bouncing around on our heads, advertising mortgage rates, things like that? The market stats, albeit good information, are not necessarily going to deliver the ultimate value to the consumer. Generic real estate content is not ultimately going to be your differentiator with your competition. All of it can be applied to an extent. But it's understanding cadence, it's understanding marketing, it's understanding what questions keep the consumer up at night and mirroring that message back to our audience in the form of value. Okay, how can you be the person that brings the most value to your marketplace, to your audience? Places and spaces of reflection. And who else is going to win? The person that goes all in. The person that goes all in 2026. Because the truth is, this market is already exposing anyone that's not all in. And that's fact. I'm going to guesstimate based on everything that I see in my data systems, that the average realtor production across North America was about 3 homes this year for the entire year. It used to be 5 or 6. I'm guessing it's well below that. We have an exodus of agents that are also leaving the industry. And it's exposing us. And I've shared this on other trainings. It's always interesting. So when somebody comes in to meet with me about, possibly joining my company, or they want to talk about coaching or things like that, I always ask this question, and I ask the question to you as well. If you were to look a year ahead, forward think a year ahead, and you're to picture yourself, in terms of the year that was, let's say we're, sitting here December 30th or New Year's Eve, 2026, reflecting back on 2026, what would, feel good in terms of your business goal from an income perspective? Does anybody have any guesses on what the number one answer is in terms of the money that agents want to earn in the business? I'm guessing that we know the answers. Colton Davidson, David Dykeman, 100K. That is it, and that's always it. And I'm going to share that it has always been it in the 15 years that I've been doing this, as far as, a leadership place inside of real estate. 100K is the number one answer that people give when they're posed that question. But here's the thing. 100K in 2026 is the exact same answer that it was in 2012. It's the same answer that agents are giving, even though pricing has tripled in essence. And so what does that tell us about, that exposure piece? Number one, it shares that there is no sale, even if your average commission is 10,000 for easy math, that's 10 deals a year, okay? Now that used to be more like 20, 25 deals a year, 10, 15 years ago. There's no sale that takes, 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month. Like very, very rare would you get into that scenario. So what's it exposing? It's exposing that the vast majority of our industry wants to earn a 6-figure income working less than part-time hours. That's just the truth. That's the exposure. And that's what we see all day long. And the challenge with that becomes this. If most people have a hard time achieving their actual income goal to begin with, and they set that bar lower than part-time hours, and they don't even achieve that, that's where we see the massive, massive low trajectory that we're seeing inside of real estate right now. And that's the difference. There's a massive, massive difference between walking the talk and just saying I'm going to get busy. Anybody that has ever trained with me and dedicated themselves to specific activity in that 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, in some cases it becomes 1 hour per day, 5 days a week. Once they develop their skill sets, maybe build a few strategies, a few systems that they can follow along with, you're more than 3x that 100K on average. People that have grown and scaled to 7-figure businesses in just a short period of time. But that's the difference. We have to take the necessary action if we want to create the result that we desire. So let's talk about goals. So for 2026, good news and bad news. Bad news is 2025 is done. Okay, you got 2 days, unless you're piling on a bunch of deals or closings, in the next 24 hours, we are done. History in the books. If you didn't achieve your goal, it's okay. Okay, I know a lot of people that didn't. The question is, how is 2026 going to be different? The good news is you can make a change anytime in any market. And what we know is that even in the toughest of markets across North America, that is the number one place in space that agents gain traction and grow their business if they make the appropriate choices. Number two, circumstances are what happen over time. Change doesn't. Change happens in an instant, and that instant is when you make the choice to learn, grow, and evolve further, and you instantly start moving in another direction. So the good news is that you can begin to execute on this immediately. My challenge to you is set the bar higher, aim a little bit higher than maybe you have in the past, just based on that trajectory. I mean, if your average commission is $10,000 in your market, wherever you are, and you can factor this, and I post business planning tools for free all day long. I'll be posting a bunch, leading up to next week as well. What would 2 deals per month look like for you? You ever set that goal that high? I walked a group of agents last month through an exercise that has them declare what their goal is for 2026. And in each scenario, I challenge them to aim higher. At least 30% higher. Okay. If you can't see it for yourself right now, what your actual potential is, how do you set the bar at least 30% higher than you have in the past? And what I share with you, the only reason that you're not is because you've got some program running through your brain right now that was built from whatever limiting belief scenarios that happened in your lifetime or in society or with your family or whatever it might have been that has you thinking small. So aim a little bit higher. And if you can't get there, or if that mystery exists as to why you are probably a better real estate agent than I ever was, or that you see a lot of other real estate agents that are out in the marketplace that are creating greater results from an income perspective, and you're wondering why not you, it's a great time to discover why not you. And it's a great question to always ask. Why not me? Why can't I be the person that I believe and know that I truly can in terms of my potential? So we're going to set that bar at least 30% higher. And the second thing, we are going to front load our activity into the first 6 months of the year. So whatever form of business cultivation that you're doing, for example, open houses, for example, your sphere of influence, for example, online lead generation, agent networking, whatever is proven and predictable. Remember, we're being misled in terms of a lot of things that are not proven and predictable. There are a series of things that which I'll cover off a little bit later as well, that if you do those things, you're going to get a result. Discard the stuff that you can't track and measure, because if you can't track and measure something, you can't possibly learn how to improve it. Tracking and measuring everything that we do is critical. So bigger goal and front load the activity required to hit that goal into the first 6 months of the year. If you do not know how to reverse engineer your business, it's important that you speak to somebody that can help you with that. Whether it's a colleague in your office, your broker, if they've actively created a good business before, a mentor, a coach, whoever, that can walk you through reverse engineering from an income standpoint, walking backwards to say, if I do X amount of this activity, for example, X amount of open houses, I should generate Y in terms of a result. If I get X amount of leads and I do these things to convert those leads, I should get Y in terms of a result. Okay, it is so crucial to understand the reverse engineering process. And that's the thing, your competition is weaker than ever. It truly is, guys. And I'm not trying to smash agents, but we know what the barrier of entry is. Okay, we know that the training and development model is distracting, and in many cases, the brokerage model is extremely complacent in terms of helping you create more. And our competition is not even seeking more, which I just shared. That's how we differentiate. That's how we avoid losing for the wrong reasons. So my question to you is, are you all in? Like, can everybody here say that in 2025, they were all in? I'd love to hear. Can you say that you were all in 2025 for certain? Love it. I can't say that I was. I can say I was pretty close, but not all the way in. Here's the thing, though. I get a lot of people that when I pose a question, especially in a one-on-one situation, which is always challenging for many because, productivity is not the feel good necessarily. When I ask the question, are you all in? Most people say yes. They're all in. Okay. How would someone know? How would somebody know that you are all in? And so if anybody here says that they were all in 2025, or if you visit this 3 months from now, which is what I do with the small groups that I coach and train and have the privilege to work with, how would somebody actually truthfully know that you are all in? And here's the question or the exercise. Open up your calendar and show someone that you are all in. Open up your CRM and show somebody that knows how these things are modeled that you are all in. And if you can't, it's okay. But I can safely say that most people, when they say that they have a goal and they actually really dive into the activity that they declared that they were going to do, but then don't do, there's a lot of answers inside of that for all of us. For all of us. The proof is always in the pudding. And the proof test comes with receipts, reps, and restraint. Receipts meaning results. Okay, what results can you show? Reps are the activity that is required that you can declare and show to somebody that you are all in. And the restraint is how do we restrain from distraction? How do we truly restrain from distraction and doing the things that we know is not going to enhance our business whatsoever? So I always like to show proof of concept in terms of results. For those of you that don't know me, again, Ryan Hodge. I was licensed in '08, had a very quick start in the business, being involved in over 200 transactions in my first 2.5 years. Grew the #1 team in my marketplace with Remax, made the Remax Hall of Fame, Rookie of the Year, all sorts of stuff. Built a 7-figure real estate company in 3 years, 100 plus productive agents. I have coached and trained broker owners, team leaders, individual agents all over North America, even into Europe. What I share also is that I've created just as much failure inside of my career path as success. Also authored a book called The Integrity Vow. So I know that I fall along with people that have had way bigger results than I ever have, but I do believe that from a place of credibility, I can share a little bit about real estate productivity. But you know what? What does it really matter? And here's the best thing that anyone has ever said to me, ever. You're not that impressive. Here's what I share. I trained with somebody about 10 years ago that very much helped open the gateway to me discovering more in terms of about myself and productivity and the ego that I think this business is just so ego driven. And I've lived that ego experience inside of real estate. We are not rock stars. Okay. We are not saving lives. We are helping people with a very important decision-making process and taking action based on those decisions to buy and sell real estate. And unfortunately, this industry has become so ego-based that they're really, really looking at how can I get validation from people online versus contribution, really, and that's going to generate me business. When we break down the walls of the ego and we look at that from a place of pure potential in terms of what we really want to create and what this path is really about, we can understand that, we can be pretty good at this business. I've had some pretty good results, but in the grand scheme of it, it's really not that impressive. So consider that when you start looking at how you're interacting with people in 2026 as well. Because success does not equal fulfillment. Success does not equal fulfillment. In fact, if you study this long enough, you'll understand that success is really nothing more than a toxic replacement for fulfillment. It didn't matter whether I sold 100 homes a year, whether I built this company, whether I spoke all over. Eventually, if we don't get crystal clear on who we are and our life's purpose and life path, we just keep creating more. And more is not necessarily going to be the most fulfilling thing for you. Certainly wasn't for me. And hey, if it's just about creating more money, creating more things, and that's what you define as fulfilling, that's your path. But I have worked with so many people that are high performers, people that are among the top 10 on Treb, people that have had me coach their entire teams, like a 20 agent team one-on-one, people that are 7-figure earners. And they all get to this point that it doesn't matter. At some point, if we just keep trying to create more, we often end up pretty miserable. And it's a challenge in our industry, in our society, really, because that's really what we are programmed to think. More is always better. Results prove that you have some skill, but it's the purpose part. The purpose is where we start finding that fulfillment. And if we work in a path of purpose, that's where we start to see just how productive we can really become. And I had to learn this the hard way. It took me a long time as a company owner, as one of the top independent brands in the province of Ontario, which if any of you are on, here from the States, it's like a state, that the company was bigger than me. It was much bigger than Ryan Hodge. That starts to change how you lead people. So if you're a team leader, this is a good place of reflection, right? Understanding that the team and the whole is bigger than the individual. And my spouse was the one that taught me this the most. Okay, her motto wasn't how do we create more? Her motto, especially in some really, really challenging times that we've had, how do we wake up each and every day and just help somebody? How do we wake up each and every day and just help somebody? And since she's gotten involved in the organization and brought that to the culture of the company, the culture has done a complete 180 in terms of where it was 6-7 years ago. Growing with the right people, a more productive type of agent, becoming, that family style culture, even though I'll bring productivity, thought leadership, all the stuff that I do to the table, but it's starting to reflect that the fulfilling part of a business is where you start to really serve other human beings rather than just yourself. And that allows me to do the things that I want to do inside of my life path, which is contribute. I am fortunate that every single fall, every single day of the fall, Monday to Friday, sometimes weekends, I commit myself to community coaching at a local high school. Okay? And people go, well, how do you do it all? Go back to those 168 hours. It's just a choice. Okay, yeah, I've got some leverage. We'll talk about that. But being able to contribute to young minds that are in this society of more, or that they're not good enough, or that they have, failed because they didn't make it through the hockey, dynamic of Canada. Like that to me is fulfilling. They got shit going on at home, stuff that, I had going on at home when I was a kid. Like that's the kind of stuff that allows me to want to create more inside of real estate. Because again, the better that I do inside of the real estate environment, supporting other human beings inside of our business to create more, creating more sales for myself, doing things inside of the landscape of real estate, it all acts as a vehicle to truly do the things that we love. to truly do the things that we want to do with the people that we want to do them with. And that involves some pretty expensive trips to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. If you follow along with me, you will know that my boys and I are massive Steelers fans. And every single year we will go once, which I will share is no joke in terms of a cost. And it's usually a 2 or 3 day trip. In fact, we are going this weekend because our team just did not pull through. So we want to make sure that we're there to support. These are the things that you get to do when you create more, right? And whatever it is for you, football might not be your thing. Coaching in the community might not be your thing. But what is your thing that's going to allow you to step into productivity? And how are you going to do it at the highest level? And how are you going to act when you do it? And I've been blessed to speak with, mastermind with, work with some really amazing and unique human beings. Les Brown, considered one of, if not the top motivational speakers on the planet, did a keynote with him, spoke for his organization. Brian Dawkins did a mastermind online for our company, 9-time Pro Bowl, NFL Hall of Fame. On the bottom left, you'll see Gary Zukav and Linda Francis. Gary is the author of The Seed of the Soul and The Heart of the Soul, which you see me post about sometimes. Spent a couple weeks with them. Interviewed more on Oprah than any other human being in the history of that show. Faisal Susiwala, local market in Ontario 2 years ago, was the #1 individual Remax agent worldwide. And in every single instance that I get to share, serve, work with people like this, what I know is that they're not acting like most of the real estate agents that we see online. They're not in any way acting in terms of more. What they're looking at is how can they use this business or the business that they're in to serve and support at a higher level in terms of their life path. But why do agents do it? Okay, so these are the things that we look at, and finding things that allow you to serve yourself. Okay, I am big into martial arts, and I know there's some people here that are way bigger than me. I think we've got a couple people that may even own schools on this. Finding time and place and space to do the things that serve you at the highest level a few times a week before you go serve that team that you coach or that real estate team or your charity or whatever. It's crucial. And as you work backwards, finding the things that are beneficial to you. I post things like this all day long. Okay, I am very transparent. 3 years sober in November, 4 years next November. Sharing with your audience the stuff about you that actually matters versus that just listed, just sold, multiple offers, here's the market stats. That's what resonates. And you might not want to open up your book of life like I do, no problem. But how will you deliver deeper connections with your audience? That's really, really important to consider. But the thing is, in all of it, and in all of what I have just shown you, all the same shit as all the real estate highlights, okay? Everybody just sees the end result. People don't see the reps that went in to any of the personal achievements either. And that, to me, is a big distraction because we can see people and understand that purpose and fulfillment are more important than success, perhaps. But do we really see what went into the work? Okay, most people don't see that, when I got into the business and I did do those 200 sales, number one, I had some leverage. Sandra was my first buyer agent. But I was the first guy that went to the office, my Remax office in the morning, and I was the last guy to leave. I came home to take care of the kids after school, and I was out doing deals or prospecting. I did open houses Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 1 and 2 to 4. I would not leave my office unless I booked 2 appointments. Sometimes I didn't get 2 on one day. I might get 3 or 4 on the next. Boring, monotonous shit that drove results. And there was no way around it. And that's the whole thing. Like there are proven pathways to you creating exactly what you want inside of real estate. But work works. If you're not working, it's not going to matter. That you can have the greatest ideas, you can chat GPT, the biggest blueprint for building a seven-figure real estate business, but if you're not willing to take the action that aligns with those intentions of what you want to build, it is not going to matter. And I see it all day long. And I will see it, I guarantee, in the first quarter, after the first quarter is done with the committed group of people that I get to work with, and they made all these declarations, when we met. And gosh, it would be lovely if they all, met what they said they were going to do and booked the appointment a day or a certain amount of calls. But I will guarantee, because it's just the way that it goes, that when I hit after first quarter, there are going to be some people that say, I just didn't go to work. I just didn't commit. And that's the toughest part. And so eventually, the rubber does meet the road. The rubber will meet the road somewhere and it will expose you. And you can be in environments or you can be with trainers or coaches or people that are going to give you the pats on the back, or they're going to share with you, the things that, can work and maybe it's a good idea. But if you want accountability, number one, you shouldn't need accountability to earn a living for your family. Okay, there's implied accountability though. If you decide that you want to work around high performers, you're going to know what the expectation is when you get in that room or you get in that environment. And implied accountability is going to expose people. Because what happens is, and I'm not trying to, browbeat the system here, if you get into an environment where somebody has proven frameworks and it's all tracked and measured and it's in a system, for example, my lead machine, that will show and document exactly what is required and what is necessary and what needs to be logged inside of a system, there's no way around hard work. And that's usually where, at least with my system and many of the systems, and these are all things that I didn't invent, gosh, people that have contributed to me or that I've signed up and coached with or trained with or masterminded with, all it does is it moves people along and out of that environment of productivity and out of the proximity that they get to that environment, because it's painful to be exposed. And that's the toughest part about hard work, because hard work is going to lead to results. So when we look at this, often it has to do with what we call resistance. Okay, resistance. The law of resistance. The law of resistance says that whenever we are resisting doing the things that we know that we need to do, that we must do, that we should do, and if we just do those things, we're going to get a result, negative energy tends to situate itself in our experience. Does that make sense? So, for example, in real estate, if we know that we need to make a certain amount of contacts to hit our income goal, or we need to do a certain amount of open houses and say, the right things to hit our goals. When we resist doing those things, or we resist getting into environments of potential or productivity or things like that, what do you think the negative energy is that situates itself in an agent's experience? How does it show up? I'm going to share its lack of income. Nobody wants that. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for me, right? So there's things that we got to look at to say, what am I resisting right now? As an example, transparent example, I 100% wanted to go through the holidays crystal clean in terms of, what I ate. I did no such thing. So I know that if I keep resisting, I'm going to go to karate tonight, I'm going to work out tomorrow, but if I keep resisting getting, into that really, really right place and space for me, that negative energy, situates itself as weight gain, which I don't want to do. Big goals in any area, right? But we can ask ourselves, what are the things that I'm just resisting doing that I know that if I just made the choice to do it and I committed to it and I did it consistently, I'm going to get those results. It's just a really good key performance indicator question for you right now. So I'm going to share with you my core process for this, my core process for productivity. Okay. And I want you to take this, and it can be an excellent framework for you as far as, what it is that you look to accomplish or create or do a little bit more with. And I've used this over the years, and I think that it will resonate a little bit for you. Everybody's heard the word karma, right? The word karma. Karma is based on what's called the law of cause and effect. Okay, the law of cause and effect, which says that for every action, there's a consequence, whether it's a positive consequence or a negative consequence, action, reaction. Okay. Karma, which is also referenced as the golden rule, or you hear the what goes around comes around. It's a very circular energy if you're into energy. And I'm not trying to be too kumbaya. I'm trying to just share a little bit of the personal development stuff. Karma, again, is very circular. And I have found that over the years, agents, team leaders, broker owners often operate in this fashion, okay, where they start off at zero. And by the way, January 1, we all start at zero. Unless you've got just a boatload of closings in the pipeline, we're starting off from scratch. That's our business. So they figure something out that's a bright idea, right? Maybe it's some form of lead generation. Maybe it's, a certain script. Maybe it's, doing a certain amount of activity. They have the idea. They take action. And awesome. As they take action, they tend to get a result. That result is usually in the form of a client, which is great. But somewhere along the way, as they're taking this action, they're acquiring clients, they get too caught up in the transactional side of the business, or a personal, matter pops up, or some kind of thing happens with the deal that they're doing. And ultimately, when that happens, they stop doing the thing that got them busy in the first place. And because of that, they then have to start back at ground zero. And this is why you see these massive, massive peaks and valleys inside of our environment. And I want to share that, ultimately, we all have peaks and valleys, but when you start moving away from karma and start moving towards productivity and what I call dharma, which is the law of purpose, DHARMA, dharma. Dharma is the universal law of purpose, which again says that anything and everything on this planet has a purpose. But in order to serve that purpose, we have to move in more of a linear path versus that circular fashion of karma. And on a linear path, in order to serve that purpose, we need to keep doing the next right thing right. That keeps us moving in the right direction. So the first thing that I always start off with in the 4 key pillars, productivity, in my core process, number 1 is foundation. Personal and professional foundation. Professional foundation has a lot to do with, are you in the right environment? Are you getting the right resources? Do you know what your income goal is? Have you established, how to get to that goal in terms of, understanding what it actually takes? Okay. Personal foundation is the self-discovery that many will not take to understand why they do the things that they do, or maybe why they don't do the things that they should do. Okay, there's a lot more in the personal development space, to me, as the greatest catalyst to change. The personal development space will support in understanding, in many cases, a lot of those limiting beliefs, or things like, fear with making contact, or, all the things that, tend to get in the way for a lot of people that need to be unpacked, unraveled, and covered off before they move forward. Pillar number 2 is predictable business cultivation. Okay, so we talked about eliminating the stuff that doesn't matter. Focusing on what are your frameworks for your strategies, the types of business that you want to do that feel good to you too. Okay, don't do the shit that you hate, but the stuff that you want to do that you can say, if I do X in terms of activity, I should get Y in terms of a result. So I'm going to do X amount of open houses, which should deliver Y in terms of a result. I'm going to make X amount of calls, which should deliver Y in terms of a result. I'm going to contact my sphere of influence because I know that if I have 100 people on my list and they move every 5 to 7 years, and if I'm nurturing them the right way, that should lead to 14.3 sales each and every year, even more if I'm working referral systems. These are the types of conversations that allow us to look at, if I do X, Y should happen. And what happens is that you start to get a very clear understanding in terms of what's predictable and what's not, but also, am I doing the work or am I not? And this is usually what happens. Okay. Somebody comes into my environment, they declare they want to make $350,000. We look at what are the types of ways that you're going to do it. Sphere of influence, open houses, online lead generation, Facebook, prospecting, things like that. We reverse engineer backwards all those things. And then somebody declares they're going to go to work on those things and doing the things that they declared that they would do. One of three things usually happens. One, they do the work, they get a result, they move forward. That's where a lot of times people will say, I hit my 2025, income goal in September. So they reestablished a goal or they start building towards 2026. Number two thing that happens, they declare what they're going to do. They do the work, but they're not getting the results that should be coming from it. And that is okay, because that's where somebody that coaches or trains or mentors can step in and provide that coaching insight, covering off things like their skill gaps to coach them up where they should be getting the results. Or the third thing is they suck up the idea like it's sugar. They declare all these intentions, they fail to take action, and they spit it out like it's salt. And they either abandon a system, they abandon a team, they abandon a brokerage, or they abandon the business. These are the things that happen when you have predictable frameworks. Third, back-end systems and processes, CRM, your social media content, the ways that you build. I have massive, lead generation platforms, CRM, tech stack. I use Monday.com. I use Slack. Like, these are the things, your systems and processes. And a system is a word that's thrown around, very loosely in our environment. It can be very simple too. Systems are really just a set of connected principles or procedures working well together. So maybe it's, some form of social media content creation that is, coupled with VA. And I've got 4 or 5 VAs that I've, hired just outside of, my brokerage that do a lot of project stuff for me. Systems allow us to create more, allow us to get more organized, and ultimately allow for pillar 4, which is leverage and scale. Scaling our business through other human beings and technology. And leverage allows us to keep the 3 vital signs of real estate alive and well: setting appointments, conducting appointments, and negotiating contracts, or helping others do the same. So 4 key pillars: foundation, predictable business cultivation, back-end systems and processes, and leveraging and scaling our business. But most want to jump to number 3 or 4 first without really uncovering their foundation or building it. Or they get into doing something without any foundation and then they get discouraged. Or they, start with their CRM, but they don't know how to make contact. Like, the list goes on and on. When we don't do these in order, we tend to build on what I consider a house of cards, or like building your business on quicksand. Eventually something happens, something breaks. Been through it so many times. So really focusing on that linear productivity is crucial. And it's a great place to say, where am I at on my own path? Do I need to do some work on my foundation? Do I need to, really look at them? And the things that I'm doing predictable? Do I need to implement a system, but usually, almost always, there's some work to do on pillar number 1 before we really move towards the other ones. I'm going to give you a simple dialogue, and I know some of you were on my Facebook funnel session that I did a couple of weeks ago, the reloaded version. I'm going to run that one back end of January, just so you know, but there's $1 million dialogue that very few people, if anybody, I've ever seen actually teach it, and it's in terms of prospecting with Messenger. So I want to give it to you now, and then if you're, seeking more, you can certainly, find stuff on YouTube or on my pages that are, old recordings. I'll do a new one coming up end of January. I think I have a date for that. I'll launch that out early into the new year. When I got into the business, I very quickly started using Facebook. You can use any platform that you want, using simple messages that don't sell. Okay. I would take my list of Facebook contacts, 26 letters in the alphabet, 30 days in the month. On day one, I would go through the A's, day two, the B's, day three, the C's, and so on, sending simple messages that don't sell. My first dialogue went something like this. Hey there, it's been a little while since we connected. I just got into a new business with a new company, and I wanted to keep you updated. Please send me your email address, phone number, and mailing address. And I share that only about 1,000 people were on my list at that time. I was not creating anything in terms of like relevant content. And I only had about a third of those people respond. And out of that 300 people, only about 100 people actually sent me the information that I wanted. But number one, a lot of those people were not the people that I thought would send me the info. And I was surprised at how many people ended up doing business with me that I never thought would. Okay. Number two, that 100 people became an absolute gold mine of a database, because then I could start doing all the stuff that we know we need to do: referral campaigns, nurturing techniques, reaching out, snail mail, like all the stuff. You might be saying, well, I'm not new to the business. What's a dialogue? Hey there, it's been a little while since we connected. A lot of people have questions about this ever-changing market. I'm trying to keep my people, or my preferred clients, updated. Please send me your mailing address, email address, phone number. That's how you build a list. That is far more simpler than a cold call. It is far simpler than door knocking. It's far simpler than learning the script that's ever required, or the amount of follow-up that's required in the online lead space. It's probably at least a little bit more comfortable than sitting at an open house, or if you don't want to do open houses. It's led to millions of dollars in commissions for me. It's how I've primarily built my entire brokerage. It is proven day in and day out, time after time. It's a timeless strategy that you can apply to your business if you take action. And I know that most people immediately go, oh, I don't want to do that because I don't want to bother people. I don't want to reach out to my database. I don't want them to think that I'm, coming across sales. And guys, we're in real estate. Real estate is a contact sport. Okay. The purpose of social media is this. This is the definition. Designed in 2004 by Mark Zuckerberg to create a social online environment for friends and family to contribute to one another and connect. That's it. And so if you're not using it as that, you might start questioning the effectiveness. And this is where you can create so much more in terms of conversations versus then the people that you might stumble into at an open house or at the grocery store or at a party. Like, it is a contact sport. There's no other way to do this business other than having some form of contact. And you might still say, hey, I just can't do it. Okay, but what is it going to be for you? What is the way that you're going to make contact with a list? How are you going to build that list? Okay, that funnel is critical. Top of funnel are the people that you don't know, but the people that you have in your middle of funnel, which are all the people on Facebook or all the people on Instagram or whatever, those are people that we've got to nurture to bring them to bottom of funnel where they're transacting. So if that training is of interest, stay tuned. You'll get email. You'll see it on my social. I will run it back again end of January. And that's the thing. This has led to so much business. And I share with you this. I have 100% provided enough content in the last 60 days through what I reference and what you probably know in terms of the term lead magnet, offering value with a form. People register, they either get a free resource or a downloadable doc or into a webinar that could have anybody that follows along with even a fraction of it build a multiple six-figure income from scratch in any market in North America. But even if you're not that ambitious, Just looking at this and how to add an extra 10 deals to your year could make a huge difference. Okay, it could make a huge, huge difference. So that is definitely, a key consideration. Could you commit to adding 10 more deals, sales to your year? I'm going to give you 7 steps to your highest self. I call them the 7 steps to the highest self. They're really 7 steps of accountability. Number 1, you can use this in any place or space. It's a great framework for keeping yourself accountable. First question, what was my commitment? What was my commitment? Okay, you could use it for the next training that you're going to go to, or the next thing that you're going to do in terms of what it is that you want to create. Your next set of workouts, your goal for next week. It doesn't matter. Number 1, what was my commitment? What was my commitment? Number 2, did I keep my commitment? Did I keep my commitment? There's nothing wrong with being transparent if we didn't keep a commitment. Number 3, in the realm of all that is possible, could I have kept my commitment? In the realm of all that is possible, could I have kept my commitment? Number 4, what got in the way? What got in the way of me keeping the commitment that I made and declared? Knowing that it's not the market, it's not the crazy client that you've got or the crazy deal that's going on. It's 100% about personal responsibility. Number 5, do I want to recommit? Do I want to recommit? Again, there's nothing wrong with recommitting. It's just being transparent and making a choice. Number 6, what did I learn about myself from this experience? What did I learn about myself from this experience? Number 7, acknowledgement, self-appreciation from the commitments that I made and declared. Self-appreciation for the commitments that I made and declared. And again, you choose any form of action, any goal, you can apply these 7 steps weekly, daily, monthly, yearly, whatever you want. So I'm going to give you a little bit of Hodge mindset. Number 1, smoke and mirrors. Don't buy into all the distraction in this marketplace. Okay, do not buy into all the distraction in this marketplace. There are people that are having tremendous success, and there are also people that are looking like they're having tremendous success that are not whatsoever. Number 2, comes down to responding to the marketplace versus reacting to it. A lot of people reacting. Response is rooted in personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. Number 3, consider your energy. Okay. Mainstream media talks a lot about what we call the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is the most popular universal law in terms of, manifestation, thinking about what we want, visualizing, stuff like that. But it's actually the secondary law if you study this sort of thing. And the primary law is what's called the law of vibration. The law of vibration says that anything and everything on this planet operates as energy, and that energy operates like a magnet, whether it's positive or negative. Okay. And I'm sure that you can see, or you have observed, people that always seem to have some crazy situation going on in their business, or a client that is driving them nuts, or something that's going on outside of their business that is just a disaster, and it's constant. And when you step back, you can often say, I see how that person is getting that reflection in terms of the energy that they offer. How do I wake up each and every day and operate my energy at the highest level possible? What are the things that I need to do each and every day to bring my energy level up to the highest point of attraction? Okay, number 4, are you in alignment? Are you aligned in terms of the action that you're going to declare with those great big intentions as you move towards 2026? Okay, are you truly aligned? Law of detachment. Stop focusing so much on the outcome. Start focusing on the activity. Okay, focus on the activity, not the results. Results will come if you take the action. In other words, attach to the process, detach from the outcome. Go deeper with your people. This surface level stuff is not getting it done, guys. And I know that it's not easy. For years, all I did was train on how to do more real estate business, how to sell more. Okay. And that was fine for a while. And it developed a nice little coaching business, but it wasn't overly fulfilling. And ultimately, it took me to a place in 2017 or 2018. I was hosting a big event. I used to host these big events down in the GTA called the Mindset Map. Had about 300 people in a room. And I was on the verge of talking more about personal development, my life path, stuff that I've gone through. And I was terrified, terrified. When you start sharing stuff about addiction, it's not exactly, the same topic that maybe your next C21 conference is going to broadcast. But what I share is this. When I moved past that fear of worrying so much about what people thought, responsibly, and always learning in that space too, that day changed my entire audience of potential coaching client or avatar of people that wanted to work with me in that training and development space. It also drastically started to change the culture of my company. Take your people deeper. It will have great, great rewards. And understand that, in all things pure potential, our potential is unlimited. Okay. It is just a choice to make a change. And again, change doesn't happen over time. Circumstances do. Change happens in the instant that you start moving in another direction to do some different things. And I know that if you're here, you know that there is more and that there is more potential waiting to happen. If you are looking for a little bit more info, here's a quick one on how to earn 100K in 100 days. It's free downloadable doc. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure you know how to find me. I will be posting just about every resource that I've posted in the last 60 to 90 days on my social channels, sending it out in email. So even if you're not working with the QR code, but that's just a little gift from me to you. It's a simple resource. And again, motivation lies within. Okay? Nobody can motivate you to do more. Maybe inspire, but not motivate. I have had the privilege and honor to be here today serving and supporting. I hope you guys got a little bit of value out of this. I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to, open it up for any Q&A or anything that I can support further on. I've got a little bit of time here. I've got kids at home today too. And for those of you that are jumping off, by all means, I wish you an amazing wrap to 2025. I hope that it's ending in a way that you want to allow for 2026 to unfold. Okay, there's a lot of importance to that when we start looking at, how we exit one season has a lot to do with how we enter another. So be good to yourselves tomorrow night. And I appreciate all of you very much. So again, open to anybody that may have, some questions or things like that. How can I serve and support further? Anybody at all? We're all good? Cool. I think we might just be all good then.
Thanks so much, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. I hope you have an amazing one and Happy New Year to everybody. We will talk real soon and connect anytime.